So this is Colt Hamilton with Hamilton Native Outpost, and we're going to look today at a native grass warm season. This is a monoculture Indian grass field that we planted. So we come in here this is our kind of following our split establishment guide. We come in here with Roundup last fall, burned down, it was a fescue field, burned that down. Then we come in here early spring right before we planted, burned it down with Roundup and used a chemical called Panoramic or a Mazapic, and that gave us a lot of the good weed control that you see in this patch here in front of me. And we're going to kind of look at this field and we're going to evaluate first whether we have a stand, second whether we need to do any weed control yet. We get a lot of questions for people wanting to know if they should do some weed control. And you would think, well, anytime you can control weeds, it's better than not controlling weeds. And that's not exactly true. Every time you drive across your field or do something, you damage some of your seedlings at the same time. So sometimes you'll actually get a better stand by just leaving it alone. But there's definitely times when the weeds get too competitive and some action is needed to be taken. So let's look at whether we have a stand to start with. Then we're going to kind of look around on this farm and this field, and we're going to look at some different weed control scenarios that exist within the same pasture and make a conclusion of whether to do anything or not. So we look here, and I've got an Indian grass seedling here. There's actually another little one growing right next to it. I've got two here, one here, one here, one here. So it's pretty obvious that we got a good stand of native grass. It's actually thick enough some of these will die out in time to make room for some of the bigger, healthier plants because they are growing that close together. So basically, if you look at a meter square, meter square, 9 square feet, 3 foot by 3 foot, and you find 5, 6 plants in there, you have a stand. You're in the game to start playing with those plants. Now this is only in a monoculture warm season grass field. In diversity, you would expect much more plants than that because they all fill different niches. But in this monoculture Indian grass field that we evaluate, we have a stand right here where I am standing, and you're looking in front of me around my feet, not out behind me. We've got very good weed control here, probably better than we actually need. I'd say this is a very shallow to bedrock or shallow to a hard pan soil here. So the panoramic didn't go down into the ground with the rain, and it's kept it close to the soil and gave us really exceptional weed control. And you'll notice in a field that those changes happen very quickly. Here behind me, as I walk back, I'm starting to get off of that, probably that shelf rock would be my guess what's there. And I'm starting to see a lot of different plants growing in here with it. And you look further back and you're like, whoa, there's just a whole field of weeds back there. So let's take a little walk and look at these and make a decision the way I would on my field. So you can tell here in this patch we're standing in now, there's a little more weed competition here. Mostly looks to me like broadleaf weeds of different types. Got some croton, some of the nightshades. When I look down at the ground, I could see more of the seedlings, bare ground, than I do the weeds. It's by far maybe 25% weed cover. These weeds are not suppressing your native grass at all at this point. So I would do nothing in this location here. Now over here, so this here you can tell I'm standing in some much taller weeds. Got some ragweed, got some lamb's quarter. It's kind of some different weeds right here in this field. When we bought this property, there was a brushy fence row here and we dozed it out. So we're dealing with a little different weed condition here. But again, whenever I look down from an overhead view, I look down, I still see bare ground in about 50% of the place. Now obviously right here under this ragweed, if there is a seedling, he's suffering. But as I look around him, there's an open hole, and right in between that open hole, this plant and that plant, there's 3 Indian grass seedlings that are getting plenty of sunlight. On the back side, same thing, plenty of seedlings all the way around. So to worry about this one plant, you'll probably kill more plants than you save just driving in here to cut this one off. So I wouldn't recommend here that we do anything either. So this patch here in front of me is a little different. It's a small patch, but it's worth looking at. This is fleabane daisy, and if you look down from the top on it, you won't see as much bare ground. Now it's a bit of a sparser plant, so there's still sunlight filtering through, but it is probably suppressing your seedlings quite a bit, especially in the morning sun and the evening sun where it comes in more slanted. So in this case, I would probably start to do a little bit of weed control here if this was a bigger portion of my field. However, this is not. So in general, looking around, as I've looked at the different places in this field, I really haven't found anything that I would come in and do weed control on as a whole, because it's probably some of the thicker, more suppressed areas may total 5 to 10% of my field. Just not really worth the time or economical to come in here to take care of that. And even in those more suppressed areas, I feel like I'll still get well enough of a stand to not worry about it. If you wanted to do something, you could come in here with your bush hog, you could clip it high. You could also come in here. Most of the weeds that we have in this field are broadleaf variety of weeds. So you could come in here with broadleaf weed killers such as Pasture Guard 2,4-D, for instance. Now with Pasture Guard and 2,4-D, before you spray, you need to read your label, and it'll tell you what size your seedlings need to be, and you need to assess whether they're the appropriate size or not before you spray. So in general, I would not do anything to this field. I feel like that my shaded competitive spots total less than 5 to 10%, so I wouldn't find it economical to come in here and do anything. But let's say it was thicker like that last fleabane daisy patch we looked at, or a little bit thicker than that lamb's quarter ragweed patch down there. If we had more of that and I wanted to do something, we could either come in here and bush hog it or sickle mow it off or something, and we try to stay 8 to 10 inches high, real high clipping. Now, the timing that you would do that is kind of critical. If we do that on the fleabane daisy about now, it'll pretty well be done. It's far enough along making seed that the seed won't keep by any means, but the plant won't really try to regrow itself. We're getting into the drier time of the year here around July the 4th. So a lot of the flush of germination and regrowth of the annuals is kind of over. If we backed up just 15 days into mid-June and we come in here and we did that clipping, we would get those weeds right back. They'll grow right back because there's still soil moisture and they're in a hurry to make seed, and use that moisture, they'll grow back very quickly. The other option would be come in and take a chemical approach to it. For the chemical approach, I'd probably recommend like Remedy, Pasture Guard, 2,4-D. These are all broadleaf weed killers. They won't harm the other weed grasses that are here either, but I don't have that many other weeds as competition that are grasses in this field. Mainly looking at broadleaf competition from shade and sunlight. So what I would look at before you spray, look at your chemical label. You need to, they're different, for different labels, they will tell you what stage your plants need to be. And they're going to refer to this as the number of leaves on your plant. So you need to look at your label. I get them mixed up. Some are 3 leaves, some are up to 5 leaves. You need to make sure and read that, and then come out here and look at your seedlings. Now it's not like every seedling that doesn't have enough leaves is going to die. So you're looking at it as a generality, whether most of your plants have enough leaves or not. And to do that, you just simply find an average looking plant and you start to count leaves. And on this plant, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That one has 6 leaves. This one here has 9 leaves. So there's plenty of leaves on these to use any of those. 5 is the highest number I know of for a chemical label. Some of them get down as low as 3, 4 true leaves. So read your label, look that through. You would be able to spray Pasture Guard or 2,4-D or Remedy on this field. Timing of when to spray Pasture Guard or Remedy, now would probably be a good time. So, and the reason I'm saying that is we don't have enough soil moisture to really germinate new weeds. They're not forecasting any rain. So if you go ahead and spray this now, you would be able to save the moisture that's left for your native plant seedlings and not use it up with your annual weeds and not get a reflush germination of weeds right away. If you come in early, and this is what people do a lot, they get anxious, the weeds are there, they're not necessarily reading all the signs wrong, but they get there just a little too early and they'll put their 2,4-D on, they'll kill, get a good kill, and then they'll turn around 15 days later and the weeds have regerminated and they're back. Now those are not the same weeds that you sprayed. Those did die, but it's seeds in the soil that come up again. And if you'll wait just a little bit longer to start getting drier before you spray, you'll actually get less germination, regermination of your weeds, and won't have the possibility really to have to spray it again. This has been Colt Hamilton with Hamilton Native Outpost. We're very passionate about native plants and enjoy being able to share this with you.